parents aren't American, trying to kick them out. His children, they aren't fully American, they're planning to kick him out.
Pretty sure that all these people moved here legally, though.
Okay, so you're saying that just because... let me just say this is a Bernie rally. Try going to like the zoo.
That's a very clever suggestion.
Or the depths of hell itself. Have a good day.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.
Best system in the world?
Ooh, we do not have the best system in the world.
Who has a better system?
There are many European countries that are much better off than
Oh, you
us.
mean like the European countries with a higher density of whites, like Northern Europe?
That's one way to phrase it, I guess.
You don't mean Turkey.
No.
You don't mean Eastern Europe
No.
with the communists. So the only time you can come up with a system that's better than America, it's a country that's more white than America. I don't understand.
I don't know what to say to that. So.
Okay.
May I tell you why? When I was growing up, for the most part, black Americans got married rather than having their children out of wedlock.
So you're mentally retarded for having a kid out of wedlock.
Today, most black children are born out of wedlock. Is that mentally retarded or not?
Okay, so let me ask you something. Let me ask you this.
Common sense? No, answer that first, and then you can ask me.
No, it's not mental retardation if you have a kid out of wedlock.
How does a sound-minded person make a baby out of wedlock and leave it like that? Or even make it out of wedlock? How does
I don't know. Why don't you ask people like Trump? He had multiple baby mamas. He had kids out of wedlock.
No, he did not.
Is he mentally retarded?
Trump did not have children out of wedlock.
Right. Sure he didn't.
Which one of his children were born out of wedlock?
Which one of his three were from different moms?
But they're not born out of wedlock.
Right.
You said
here's my point.
No,
wait. No, because you just glanced over something. No, you just said something that's not true. You just made two statements that wasn't true. You just said that having a kid out of hold on. You said having a kid out of wedlock makes you mentally retarded.
It's retarded to do that.
Now, is it only mentally retarded if black folks do it?
Anyone does it.
Okay, so now let's come back to because you glanced over that. Hold on, because you glanced over it. You glanced over it. Do you understand that white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, they all have had kids and they do continue to have kids out of wedlock? Are they all mentally retarded?
Yes.
Okay, so at least you're across the board because at first you just said that it's all black folks.
I didn't say all.
No, most. I'm sorry, most. Now, again, if you're saying most black folks are mentally retarded, then you got to lump everybody else in there. So you can't just if it's everybody you're including of that most, then you have to include white people. So if you're going that route, then there's no reason for you to come back and say that it's just black folks because everybody apparently is retarded if they have kids out of wedlock, which statistics show. You can go look. Somebody from your thing can pull up the stats of people who have kids out of wedlock. I know a handful of white folks myself that have had kids out of wedlock. I know Asian people that have had kids out of wedlock, Hispanic people that had kids out of wedlock.
And the reason you're pointing out white people is what?
No, you pointed out black people, so I wanted to point out to you that you can't just say black people do this.
Why you pointed out white people when I pointed out what's wrong with blacks? Why do you say white people do it too?
No, because you said that only black. You said most black folks. You said most black folks.
Right.
You said most black folks have their problem goes back to the mental issue of having kids out of wedlock, so it makes them mentally retarded. So what my point is, if that's the case and that's what affects black folks because they have kids out of wedlock, that's what makes them mentally retarded according to you, then tell me the excuse for the white people or the Asian people or the Hispanic people that the same thing that have kids out of wedlock.
Am I right about most black babies
no, you didn't
born
answer
out
the
of wedlock?
question.
Because you're trying to...
How can you argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality?
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't, and when You know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
Anybody can jump in. It's an open mic there.
You're actually the only woman who's actually featured. Because guess what? It's a bunch of dudes. And I do not appreciate that.
Yeah, he's racist. He's sexist. I haven't heard really any firm policy.
Well, we just keep hearing these terms, racist. What's a racist thing he said?
That he insinuating that Mexico is sending their rapists.
They are. 80% of the young girls who cross the border get raped. I thought you feminists hate rape.
I do.
So do you think 80% is a pretty bad stat for women getting raped? 80% of the women crossing the border get raped.
By Americans?
No, by illegals.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Okay, I won't ask you how old. I will ask you how old you are, okay? Because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So.
I'm 22, so I'm probably only naive, right?
No. Why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60? And why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
It's not the same as gender. You can't just.
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender. You can't magically change your gender. You can't magically change your sex. You can't magically change your age.
I have two comments to make. First, I want to direct this to Miss Skinny Minnie.
Which Miss Skinny Minnie?
Isn't her name Mimi or Skinny Minnie?
Yeah, okay, Mimi.
Well, the skinniest girl up there. Anyways, she made a comment that you have to have a lot of willingness and motivation to be skinny.
I was quoting Dr. Kelly Brownell of Yale. That's what he says.
I don't care who you was quoting. You said it, own it.
I agree with him, absolutely.
Okay, good. But I'm a plus-size model. I am willing and motivated to wake up every day to keep these curves. I don't want to wake up and look like you and be confused and quoting everybody. Why don't you say what you have to say and stand up for what you believe?
Oh, I was just tagging on to, she was talking about the same Yale Center, so.
Okay, but let me ask you a question while you're standing up. Why is it okay for you to call her Skinny Minnie? But it's not okay for her to comment about someone's size that's larger.
Well, I don't know her name, so okay, you got me on that. But moving on, no chubbies, no chubbies. No, I got
no.
chubbies.
You said it. Own it.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get.
Why don't you like President Trump?
He's a liar.
What did he lie about?
Do you really not know?
I'm asking you. I don't know.
Well, you could Google it.
Google what?
Why don't you try?
So you have no answer?
My answer is why don't you try?
You're out here protesting. You spent hours out here today sweating. Why don't you like President Trump?
If a man stops you in the street and wants to talk to you and gives you a compliment and thinks that you're attractive and wants to get to know you better, do you think that's a sexist thing to do?
Yeah, it is.
Why is that sexist? Why do you think that?
Well, because it's based on. How to say? It's based on.
It's based on what?
It's based on. His like. It's based on what he thinks is. I got to explain. Oh my god.
When black people die, when black people are killed in a church, that's a fucking terrorist attack.
Whose fault is that?
A white man's.
It's a white man's fault. What about the fact that this young man was on psychotropic drugs?
What about the fact he had a fucking Confederate flag?
What about the fact that this man and almost every other mass killer has been on psychotropic drugs?
That means we have a mental fucking health problem, but it's also the fault of the white.
So let me ask you this. Do you know who's taking money from Big Pharma?
Hillary! Everybody!
Wrong. Donald Trump has taken $0 from Big Pharma. I stepped you on that one. Do you have anything else?
Fuck you!
Great comment.
How would you explain the amount of black people in jail currently?
Higher numbers of black people committing crimes.
Well, that's not the case.
It is absolutely the case.
Keep going. It's been statistically shown that white people use drugs just as much as
And
black
as I said, people are generally not arrested for using drugs. They're generally arrested for drug distribution in the drug world.
Once again, it's this wonderful capitalist invention called Google. Google it.
Well, you could Google it.